Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, December 31st, 2024. It's the last day of the year, and we actually, we're gonna go, I don't want to say big picture. Censorship is the topic, but I'm going to put a more positive spin on it. As some viewers may have seen in the latter part of this year, we've beyond UN issues, we've been having with some publication issues. There was a second book about the U.S. versus Sean Combs case, Diddy Detained, that we had some problem putting out. And then there was a second problem actually having to do with the Luigi Mangione case, which I didn't really get into. But I believe that this is now solved. And beginning this morning, you can find, it's a different platform on Google Play Books. Check them out. So far only an ebook, but we're going to move on to other formats and, I believe, to Luigi Mangione, Lone Wolf. Diddy Detained, U.S. versus Sean Combs, Book 2 of a series is now out. And so all I can say is, keep pounding away. Free speech is a great thing. The UN hasn't yet acknowledged that and has had to live up to it, but that is one of the goals for 2025. But for 2024, it's a wrap. So far, yesterday we wrote, I believe, 17 stories, and these included, because there's a lot of Sean Combs action. Jay-Z in particular, in one of the civil cases, his lawyer Alex Spiro has written in yet again, fresh off a slapdown by Judge Annalisa Torres for vituperative filings that don't help his client. He's written in to say he's going to be filing a motion to dismiss. So we'll see. In another case, the corporate defendants are dismissed, but Diddy remains in. There's also a third filing, which we didn't write a story about, in which they say there's a problem with serving these cases on Sean Combs. He refuses to come out of his cell and accept service. I don't know how the process server actually gets in the MDC, but that's another matter. In any event, there's all of that. There's also Rudy coming up, I believe later in the week. You've seen all the filings if you're following Inner City Press. The case of the Georgia poll workers collection action is reaching a peak frenzy of filings, including the filing late yesterday of a 500-page deposition of Rudy. We put it online. Yes, we saw it. It's about the Yankee rings. It's about the Florida homestead. That one is coming to a head. We also yesterday, it was confirmed that Mr. Robert Menendez sentencing will not be moved. It will take place on January 29th. His wife's trial, however, was moved to February 5th. I can report from well-placed sources that when Nadine Menendez came to her final pretrial conference recently, when she left, she had to walk out down this street here, all the way to Foley Square on Center Street to look for an Uber. I don't know where Bob was, and it's not my place to say, but it's felt worth reporting in this format. Again, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. In another sleazy case, one that it's so, I don't know what's the basis, I guess. What makes the Sean Combs and Luigi Mangione cases more controversial than, say, Ghislaine Maxwell or Kevin Spacey or I don't know. I don't know what the standards are, and that's one of the problems. Private corporations are not covered by the First Amendment, they say, but they do have there's antitrust. There's a lot of things. We're going to be writing about all this because we held off because I don't like to be a complainer, but believe it or not, other than about the UN. But the book is out. So Tal Alexander sought to have his transfer here as part of the real estate sex trafficking case delayed. Judge Caproni said she didn't really believe his arguments, but would delay it until at least until January 6th at latest, if not before, if his co-defendant brothers are themselves transferred up. So we're going to be covering that case for sure. We're going to be covering all things Mangione, especially now. We were sort of holding back because when you can't publish what you want about something, you don't want to publish anything. But when you can, it's great. So 2025, we're all over it. Luigi Mangione. Also about the UN. I've reached the courthouse now, so I'm not going to go on at great length except to say that the UN, whatever else you may think about it, in terms of this issue of freedom of the press, it's a sinkhole. It's truly shocking that they have no rules whatsoever about. They can openly say we don't allow in critical journalists, or we don't. And then they can pontificate and say journalists need to be allowed to do their work in Gaza. They're lying. They basically protect their own corruption. Many UN staff send Inner City Press stories, and we published it, including one, only yesterday about Sudan. But we also have covered Colombia and various other places. But in 2025, censorship must end. On that note, Happy New Year.